Hi, here's another wonderful question. You ready? What is the three principal view regarding treating mental illnesses such as bipolar disorder and schizophrenia? Also, the three principles view on the use of psychotropic medications. So, as always, I recommend that you put the recording on pause so that you can go deep within your wisdom without the use of the brain. So you want to silence the brain, which can only store what you've already thought about mental illness and medications. Okay. And then come back on when you're ready. So here's what comes to me. I've never seen a baby with a mental illness. Have you? I don't know. How old does somebody have to be before they are labeled with a mental illness? This next is coming from my brain, I know, but I'll say it anyway and then go back to a deeper place. And that is, it's curious. I was just interviewed by a man who was labeled as schizophrenic for, I forget how many years of his adult life, and on a lot of medications, a lot. And he's tapered off now to, I think, about 3 medications. And he's actually coaching family members of people with that diagnosis of schizophrenia. He was an Ivy League graduate. I think he was at Dartmouth when he was going around campus saying that he was God as a joke. And somebody took him seriously. And anyway, you'll hear about that in that interview that I will publish for you. So back to how it appears to me that labels we have given, the diagnostic manual was made up of people's observations. And in fact, okay, this is also from memory, so it's not a deeper wisdom, but when I was in graduate school learning about diagnoses so that I could diagnose people, for one thing, I got the idea that who am I to label a person with a mental health disorder? That just did not sit well with me at all. And I'm so grateful for a teacher that many of you know of, Mr. Sidney Banks, who said, in the future, there will be one diagnosis: the misuse of the ability to think. How's that for wisdom? The misuse of the ability to think. Because even when any of us go off track in our lives, and by the way, studying these diagnoses, the criteria, myself and my peers, the fellow students of mine, all said, oh my gosh, maybe I have that, because it's a continuum. We have all experienced depression. It hasn't lasted long. We've all experienced anxiety. Maybe it's not lasted long for the great majority of people. My sadness lasted for over 2 years, and I got a diagnosis of dysthymia, which means greater depression for longer than 2 years. And that's on a webinar where I wish I had this image of what I drew a year before meeting Sid Banks. It's really horrifying, very, very sad. Supposed to be a picture, a caricature of me with a big black hole in the middle. And that's what it felt like when I got sad. Now, the three principles view is that we create our experience through the gifts of mind, thought, and consciousness. Without these three principles, we would not experience life. It's an explanation of how we get an experience of what's going on out there, what we think is going on out there anyway. Because we imbue everything out there with our own take on things. In fact, I know this is coming from memory, so it's brain stuff, but I think it's still relevant. I can remember years ago, it's fall right now, and I'm looking out at, actually the leaves are mostly off the trees now. We're into November, almost December. But I can remember in the height of a beautiful fall day with color everywhere, yellow leaves, red leaves, orange leaves. I walk outside with a client and I comment on the beauty of the scene. And she says, "Oh, I don't like fall because it reminds me of death. Because I know that winter is right after fall and there will be no more leaves." Now, talk about using thoughts. The ability to think gives us the ability to create thoughts. Talk about taking thoughts seriously. Boy, that's one not to take seriously. That's one to recognize, oh, that doesn't feel good. I can pivot in this other direction and look for a nicer feeling. Yeah. So the three principles view on, I'm a therapist, and in order to collect insurance benefits from clients who elect to use their insurance, I always tell them I have to give a diagnosis. That's the only way insurance will reimburse a clinician. And I tell them what the diagnosis is going to be. We kind of look through the list, say, okay, that one, that's a good one. And we use that number. I don't mean to make light of it, but we're all bipolar to different degrees. When we learn how to use our ability to think in a healthier way, we don't have such extreme highs and such extreme lows. We go up and down, but they're more in a level state. So I think that Sid Banks was onto something. In the future, with the way this paradigm shift of looking at mental well-being rather than mental illness. And as far as psychotropic medication goes, the way I see it, if a pill, which was also created by mind, right? Mind being universal creative intelligence of the universe, available for everyone. Some people would use the term God. And so, but in the psychological community, we use the word mind. It has less ramifications to it, because mind is formless energy. We can't make anything out of it other than what we sense. And we all know it exists. We all know that we did not create this world. We're not responsible for creating this world. We're responsible for creating the world we live in our thinking. So I don't see an issue with taking a pill, a medication that's prescribed by a medical doctor or an APRN who's supervised by medical doctors. And so there's no crime in that, and it can help can help somebody settle down enough so that they can begin to look internally at how they operate, and they're able to read Sid Banks' books. They're able to attend mystery school where we talk about Sid's books and Sid's videos. You know, you have to be settled down and calm enough to listen to the other participants, what they have to say, in order to be affected by your own insight. So I hope that answers, and I'd love to know what you think in the comments.